I lost my mind after I shot him. I guess I was seeking vengeance on the one that made it all start. That's all I can say, sir.
I understand.
I was in temporary madness.
It was just a week away from Christmas, December 18th, 2020, when deputies on the Escambia County Sheriff's Office were called to the scene of a domestic disturbance at a trailer on the outskirts of Pensacola. At the scene, they would find a dead man riddled with bullets, a distraught mother, and a woman trapped inside a camper, herself unhurt but also shot at multiple times. It was a scene of chaos.
You hear any gunshots? Huh? Is the guy still here?
Yeah, there's no guns. Guys left the guns on. There's no guns here.
Is somebody shot?
I'm the neighbor.
Is somebody shot?
Yeah, he's dead. He's dead.
Is it multiple people or just one?
There's two people, but he's shot. He's dead. I'm the neighbor.
140. Have the other units en route not come to me, but to look for the vehicle. A red Challenger. Does it have tinted windows or anything?
Tinted windows. He's got a sunroof.
There's no guns on.
Red Challenger, tinted windows.
He's in here.
How many been shot?
I thought he got her, but she didn't.
All right, so give me more about this vehicle. Is there anything on the vehicle that makes it stand out?
It's just a Challenger. I'm next door. I heard all gunshots.
Ma'am.
Sam, come here, Sam.
Let's start crime scene.
White House? Yeah.
Just need to make the call.
3 shots have gone through the doorknob mechanism of the camper behind the trailer, and it takes deputies a couple of minutes to get the door open, freeing Samantha Noble and her dog. Samantha had taken cover in the camper during the shootings, knowing that she was targeted to be killed by the shooter. The shooter, 58-year-old James Izzy Blackmon, had fled the scene in an orange Dodge Challenger before any officers arrived.
One victim. Hey, where would he go?
I have no idea.
Is there anyone else in the house?
No.
Is it red or is it orange? Is it red or an orange car?
It's orange, I guess.
Is it orange or red?
It's orange, I believe.
And then, inexplicably, James comes roaring back down the dead-end street, pulls up to the property, and gives himself up.
Come this way? Hey. We got him.
I didn't mean to kill him. He pulled a gun on me. He left me no choice.
I got it.
And then I flipped out after that. I'm sorry. He left me no choice. He pulled a gun on me.
There's no one inside. I got it. Don't move. Don't even move.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
I'm being peaceful. I'm not going to fight you in any way.
Dude, you're good.
I came back to turn myself in. I tried to turn myself in down the road.
You're good.
Before we begin, we would like to extend our deepest sympathies to the family and loved ones of Christopher Roan, who lost his life in this incident. While it's far from unusual for a suspect to turn themselves in, it is pretty rare for one who escaped the scene of a crime to have such a change of heart and come right back among a swarm of law enforcement officers and surrender peacefully. Unprompted by the deputy, James just begins talking and talking. The deputy, D. Grisham, is careful not to ask the man anything more than the basic questions and only to respond to questions about the man's well-being. Even though James is giving a confession, he still has rights to counsel and to remain silent, even if he has not been advised of those rights or had invoked them. The deputy does nothing to jeopardize any case that can be made, James, however, just tries his best to explain what happened from his point of view.
I didn't mean to kill him. I just didn't have a choice. But I lost my mind after that. I don't know what happened after that. I just went berserk.
And your first name's James?
Yes, sir. Okay. I think I'm in control of myself now only because I tried to turn myself in and it brought me back to clarity.
What's your...
So that's why I came down the street like I did. I wanted to turn myself in like right here without being shot. I'm scared of the boy. He's dangerous.
Yes, sir.
And he was coming at me and I didn't know what to do, so I grabbed my gun. And then I didn't try to shoot him with it. I tried to hit him with it, and then he took the gun away, and then he got the gun and was coming at me. I thought he was going to kill me with it, man. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you, sir.
So I got my gun and I shot him. I ran to the other room, got my gun, which was my wife's gun. I grabbed my wife's gun and shot him.
Yes, sir.
He was pointing the gun right at my head.
We need to stop here for just a moment and try to explain the very complex situation of the family living in this particular spot on Lockwood Drive in Escambia County. The trailer was owned by Linda Blackmon, James's ex-wife. He had lived there with her, even though the couple had been divorced years before. They had been married for over 20 years before divorcing. However, after James had a series of incidents that ended up with him being physically and mentally disabled, she and her son allowed him to move back in with them. The son, Christopher Roan, was now in his mid-30s. He had spent a few years in prison and had been released 2 years prior to this incident. Because he and James sometimes didn't get along, they bought a camper for Chris and set it up in the back for him to live in. At the time of the shooting, Chris had been living in the camper with his then 50-year-old girlfriend, Samantha Noble. Samantha and Chris had a very volatile relationship. Of the four, only Linda held a job, often working 10 to 12-hour days to support her family. And now, Chris's body lay in the hallway of Linda's trailer, dead, while James sat handcuffed in the back of a patrol car.
Is my wife okay?
Which one's your wife, sir?
The one that owns the house, Linda. Is she okay?
Yes, sir.
She didn't get hurt?
No, sir.
Thank you, God. She was in between us. That's why I was worried about her.
Yes, sir.
She was trying to keep him from shooting me.
The enormity of what has happened continues to come crashing down on James as he keeps talking in the back seat of the cruiser.
I'm sorry. I hope the Lord will forgive me is all I can hope for him.
What was that other guy's name?
That's my son, my stepson.
Your stepson, what's his name?
It's Chris Roan, R-O-A-N.
R-O-A-N?
Yes, sir.
Chris or Christopher?
It's Christopher. His dad's going to want to kill me now. His dad's the son of Silence, enforcer, gang member. I'll be in forever looking over my shoulder because of this. But I didn't have a choice. It was him or me, the way I seen it. Sir, are they going to put me to death for what I've done?
Sir, that whole issue is so far from being even considered or resolved at this point that...
I'm not afraid of death, but I'm saying I didn't do it on purpose.
I understand that, sir.
I didn't want it to happen.
I understand.
And I was afraid of it happening, and I've said it many times. You know, that boy's dangerous, you know?
Yes, sir.
I didn't need to be in the same house with him.
Deputies would cordon off the street and begin canvassing the neighbors for witnesses to the crime. Crime scene investigators would begin the process of finding, photographing, and collecting evidence at the scene. 3 pistols used in the incident were identified. That included one that had been in the floorboard of James's car, used to fire into the camper at Samantha, one that had been used to shoot Chris inside the trailer, and a third that had been found unloaded on the railing of a porch. That had been involved in the initial confrontation between James and Chris. 12 rounds had been fired into the body of Chris Roan, 1 to the head and the rest striking his left arm and torso. 7 shots were fired into the camper. Amazingly, none struck Samantha Noble. James would be taken to the sheriff's office for official questioning and processing. In addition, both Linda and Samantha were taken to the sheriff's office to give statements. While the outcome of the argument was, without a doubt, there were still some unanswered questions as to why this escalated so quickly on this particular day. Let's start by looking in on the interview with Linda Blackmon. She has waited for over an hour for someone to come and take her statement.
Why don't you tell me what happened today?
Well, my son is living in the camper in the backyard with his girlfriend. They don't always get along. And so we thought the perfect thing, because my son was a slob, so I didn't really want him to move back in my house. So we come up with the idea of selling him the camper, let them live in the backyard. That way when they fight, he can come in the house and they can get away from each other and work it out. So Chris has been in my house the last 2 nights sleeping, which everything has been going fine. Today we get up and it just all happened so fast. First, they started arguing because him and her were arguing, and James and Chris started yin-yanging each other, and just over their fighting and how it needs to stop, break up if y'all can't use the same old story. Then they started to physically come together, which is when I stepped in between them to try to keep them from swinging. James had a gun, I guess, in his hand. And when they first started fighting, apparently Chris hit his hand and the gun fell out of his hand and went over for the TV.
Okay.
And then Chris picks the gun up and goes outside with it. And James comes out of the bedroom and saying, "You better get that damn gun from him." And I said, "I'll handle it. Just stay out of it and let me take care of it. I got it under control." So then apparently Chris went out to the camper and then he come back in. Honestly, I don't know if he came in the front door or back door. Like I said, it went so fast. Then they started doing the yin-yanging again. I have a taser. And honestly, I was trying to get to my bedroom to get my taser because I was going to taser their asses.
It's obvious that Linda was trying her best to make peace, and from what she would describe, it was something she'd been having to do often over the years between the two men, and even more so since Samantha had moved in. The 4 people had been living on a powder keg this entire time. On this day, she could not prevent it from exploding.
So I didn't get to my taser in time. The next thing I know, they're in between each other. I'm coming in between them again. Amongst them fighting, I get knocked over the coffee table. That's why everything was the cigarette, because I fell over the coffee table. I got up. About that time, I get up and try to get in between them again, and James just fucking pulls the damn trigger and just unloads it on my son. And I am standing right there. I can't believe I didn't get shot. Because I am telling you, I am this close to where my son is. We're right, hugged her up almost right on each other. And he just starts shooting.
Did Chris have a gun at that time?
I really don't know. Like I said, it just went so fast, I don't know. I remember Chris saying, "Nobody's going to pull a fucking gun on me and get away with it." And they was just like this. And like I said, I got in between them. I got knocked down over the coffee table, fell on the floor, got back up. And then I think I got between them again, because I was standing up when he pulled that trigger, so I must have got up after I fell. Got back up in between them, trying to get them apart. And I didn't realize, I guess he had that other gun. And but I was this close to my son when he started pulling that trigger.
Where did James get the guns from?
I really don't know. To be honest with you, I have no idea. He didn't live with me for many years. So what he done in that time, we did not talk to each other.
Linda would go on to say that it had been Chris who asked her to let James move back in with them. James had been in a severe car accident that left him with broken hips, a pelvic fracture, and a broken leg. That, coupled with the man having been struck by lightning 15 years earlier, left the middle-aged man unable to work or care for himself. The investigators bring Linda back to the story of what happened, asking her to help them see how each was positioned during the shooting.
So, if you'll stand up for me. So,
So it was
So
tied.
we're arguing. So if James would
James would have been you.
Okay.
You would have been Chris. I was like this trying to get him, and the next thing I know, like I said, James just pulls a gun and just starts shooting.
Did that happen behind you or?
No, he was in front of me the whole time.
Okay.
They were both like right here. I was like right here.
Okay, so it would have been like this.
Yeah.
And if he's Chris, did you see Chris raise his hand?
No.
Or anything, like he had a gun? Or
No, I was watching James
Okay.
mostly because James has been being mental. I mean, I knew when I married this man all these years ago he wasn't quite normal. You know, I mean, I didn't realize he was, but he did get struck by lightning. I don't know if that's what's happened. He's been diagnosed over the years. I kept saying, you got mental problems, you need to go get help. So we did actually go to get help.
The help he received, in the end, did not help him cope with the life going on around him, and it played out horribly on that December afternoon.
About Chris, was he ever violent with Chris? Did he ever threaten him with
Oh, they've gotten to arguments many a times, but I don't think it ever really got physical between them, really.
I'm sorry, did you say earlier that once the gun got knocked out of James's hand, Chris picked it up?
Yes, Chris did pick it up.
So you saw him with the gun at some point?
I did see Chris with the gun. He picked the gun up. He went out the front door with the gun. And I believe he went out to the camper where Samantha
When you say the front door, you call the front door the back by the camper?
No, I call the front door the front by the road.
Okay, so he went out the front door?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe he went out the front door. Like I said, it all was going so fast.
Mm-hmm.
I believe he went out the front door, and I think he went around to the camper at that time. Then the next thing I know, he's back in the house and started in. I kept saying, Bud, stop, you know, I'll take care of this. And then they tie up again, and I get back in between them, and then that's when it hit. But I did not honestly notice. I would have really wasn't paying attention. I don't know if Chris had that other gun in his hand or not. I don't know.
How did there shell casings from bullets out in the back?
Okay, you know how that happened? After he shot my son, he went to the back door and said he was going to kill her, or he was going after her. I ran out. I think I must have ran out a second before him or right after him. I think it was after he went out, because he started firing, and I yelled to her, "Run, Samantha, he's going to shoot and kill you." And then I turned around, not knowing what he would do then, and ran through the house across to my neighbors across the road, because then I was scared he might come after me.
So he goes to the back door. Does he walk down in the yard or?
Honey, I don't know. I ran like hell after that.
Okay.
Let's pause for a moment with Linda and look back on the statement given by Samantha Noble. She would spend roughly 2 hours before being questioned by law enforcement to get her side of the story. It has been a terribly stressful day for Samantha, but it is obvious that she has been living in an incredibly complicated life.
I went back in the camper and I never fucking come back out. I was in there and I hear all this yelling going on while I was watching Criminal Minds. I recorded 4 days worth of it and I couldn't tell if the yelling was on there, so I turned the TV off and I could tell the shit was just hitting the fan in there. So I popped the screen door on the camper's on the inside. So I popped the doors open and I just had my ear out. I see Chris come around the front. So I opened the door and I was like, "What the fuck you doing?" And I see he had a firearm in his hand. He said, "This fucker just pulled a gun on me." He said, "I kicked it out of his hand." He said, "I don't know what to do, Sam." Well, I hear Miss Linda going off like something happened to her. And that's his mom. I should never let him go back in there. Should never let him go back in there. And he darted in there and I heard all the shots.
What did Chris do with the gun?
He took the clip out, laid the clip on the rail outside. And said I guess he had the gun still in his hand, and then the clip was outside from what I seen. There was part of the gun laying outside on the rail.
Okay.
And then the next thing I know, Miss Linda opens that back door. She said, "Run, Sam, run. James has shot Chris." And he come behind her, and I seen the other gun. And I was just trying to lock myself in. And that's where you see all the bullet holes right here. He's trying to shoot me. And I got on top of my dog, and I called 911.
There's a need to see if James had a history of violence with members of the family, and so Samantha is asked about that dynamic.
James was really bad about knocking her down and shit. Because I left Chris at the beginning of the year. I moved out for a little while, and I come back to get some stuff, and James come out the back door, threatening to kill me and the girl that was with me. And I was like, "What the fuck's wrong with him, Linda?" She's like, "He's just off his meds. Just, I'll handle him." He was nasty. But I just figured he was mouthing it crazy. I really, never in a million years. James usually stays in the bedroom. If y'all see in his room, he's got electric guitars hooked up everywhere. The whole neighborhood hears him play. He's a badass guitarist. And he is, like I said, he's flaky as loony bird, always prepared for the end of the world. Just, he's off his rock. Jesus slid off the cracker a long time ago.
Finally, she asks about James and how he's holding up through all of this.
Can I ask you something?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you talked to James?
I have.
Does he feel bad?
Is he what?
Does he feel bad? Does he know what he's done?
He knows what he's done, and he has shown some remorse. So, as far as killing Chris, he left out the part about shooting at you.
So let's look in on James' interview with the investigators. He is relatively calm, often remorseful about what happened. There's no attempt to weasel out of what he has done, but it seems important that he tries to explain what drove him to this.
I didn't want to kill him, though. I was scared of him. Have been for a long time. Surprised it hasn't happened sooner.
Yes, sir.
To be honest with you.
Yes, sir.
I was kind of hoping that he would possibly mess himself up and go back to prison or something so we would be away from our family, but I know that's terrible to wish for your only child, but...
I understand what you're saying, sir.
And then they ask him about Samantha.
I woke up, they was all arguing in the house. It was like, we've got this girl that's been staying with us.
Yes, sir.
Staying with my son, and she's like the devil. I mean, she's just like the devil. You know what I'm saying?
And who is that? The girl?
I don't know what her last name is.
Okay. What's her first name?
Samantha.
Okay.
He would go on to tell investigators that he had been telling Linda that she needed to file official eviction papers to get Samantha out of the camper and out of their lives. He explained that Linda felt that Chris, for all the fighting that was going on, didn't want that, and she was caught in the midst of it all. The investigators would bring him back to explaining what had happened at the time of the shooting.
I don't really know what happened from there. My son said something about you're not going to do anything to nobody, and he started going in an outrage.
Okay.
And said he was going to hurt me or something. I heard him yelling something from the other room. And I know how he is, so I was already looking for a weapon because I knew he was coming. When I looked out the door, he was coming.
From when you looked out the door, out the bedroom door?
Out my bedroom door.
Okay.
I seen him coming, and his mama was in between them trying to push him away.
Okay.
So while she was pushing him away, I ran and got her gun.
Okay.
And he was trying to get to me, and I guess I was trying to get to him. We were tussling.
Right.
He knocked the gun out of my hand. The gun went across the room. He went running for the gun. I knew what was going to happen next.
Okay.
So I ran for another gun. Gun I had, my gun. I ran for my gun because I knew he had a gun at that point. Because he was running for the gun, so I ran the other way.
Okay.
When I come back, she was trying to get him to stop again. He had the gun over his shoulder, pointing it right at my face, and said, "You ain't gonna point no gun at me ever again." And that's when I shot him.
Okay.
And when I shot him, I seen him moving. At least I think I did. best as I can remember. I thought I saw him move again, so I unloaded the gun.
They bring him back to the environment that led up to the shooting. What had set it off that afternoon?
She was throwing the furniture out of the house this morning.
The girlfriend?
Yeah, that's what I got up to. They was telling me, do you know what that crazy bitch is outside doing right now? And I was like, what? And said she's throwing the furniture out on the fire pit. Gonna burn the furniture they just bought yesterday. I said, God damn, I don't want to hear this shit today. You know, I can't hear no more of this. I told her, I said, Linda, go down there and get a fucking eviction notice on that woman. I'll pay for it my goddamn self. I said, just go do it. Let's get that bitch out of here before she ruins our household. And she said, I've had enough of it myself. I've got to do something. I said, well, all you got to do is serve her eviction and get her the fuck out of here. She said, I'm not ready to do that because of Chris. You know what Chris will do? Chris will go crazy over that shit, you know. I was getting involved in it. I said, I know, Linda, but goddamn, you know, this shit can't keep going on like this. You know, every day it's just turmoil, turmoil, turmoil. He's yelling, they're yelling at each other. He's threatening, she's threatening. You know, she's threatening our family with violence from other people. You know, he's threatening her violence. I'm going to kill you, bitch. You know, he's going to kill his own girlfriend. You know, it's every fucking day. Everybody's going to get killed.
The investigators leave the room. They're going back and forth between the 3 survivors of the incident, trying to get the story down. 2 hours after leaving James, one officer comes back in, walking in as James is down on his knees, head down, deep in prayer.
Hey, James. Hey, I'm back, buddy. What you doing, Bubba? Praying?
Yes, sir.
You a godly man?
I try to be.
Yeah, me too. Same here. It's tough in this world, but I try to be also because I'm a believer that when you leave this earth, that you go someplace.
I saw the Christ. I know he's real.
And I certainly don't want to go down there, so I try to be right with the man.
I saw hell too.
So
when I got struck, I went right into hell.
It changed your life, didn't it? I mean, it changed it in not the best way, obviously, but you got your life spared, right?
I've been trying, but you know, the world just doesn't have it in for me.
Well, you know, no matter what happens from this day forward, you know, no matter...
I'm still going to have the Lord in my heart.
That's right. No matter what law enforcement, what judge, what courts, anything like that, that's only temporary in this life, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Because when we go home,
yeah,
we go home.
Yeah.
Right?
I hope the Lord will have me now that this has happened.
Well, you know, I'm also a firm believer that there's, you know, if you talk to Jesus, talk to God, and you repent your sins, and...
I've been trying so hard. It's just, I don't feel like I was left any choice on that. He would have killed me.
And I totally get that.
But then
I'm not judging you at all, buddy. I have no malice, ill will, or anything towards you because of what you did. That's not my job, and I've talked to hundreds of people that have sat right here in your shoes, you know?
I don't have any malice against myself. I felt like I was doing what I needed to do to keep me alive, so...
It serves as a stark reminder that even in a situation of extreme violence where one person takes another's life, that real human beings are involved and sometimes their actions weigh heavily on themselves, and that a world of complications can lead up to something irrevocable. And in this case, there was almost a second murder, and now James needs to answer to that.
And after the incident happened with Chris, all right, then what'd you do? Because I know what you did.
I think I tried to kill that girl.
Yes, sir.
But I was out of my mind. I was just like I was on autopilot. I couldn't stop myself. I'm being honest.
You go out the back door?
I saw him. I looked in his face and I saw him dead. And I immediately held her responsible for it.
Because of her?
Yeah.
So you march outside.
I think I was going to kill her.
And you started shooting?
I think so, yeah.
Porch, steps, yard?
I don't know.
Did you empty the pistol?
Probably did, yeah.
Okay.
I think I was trying to kill her. I don't know. I was out of my mind. I was holding her responsible for it. That's where my guilt lies.
Okay.
Is after the fact.
Okay.
And I'll admit that totally. I'm guilty of that.
And in the end, guilty is what the jury found James Blackmon of in the second-degree murder of Christopher Roan and the first-degree attempted murder of Samantha Noble. The case would be heard in state court on July 21st and 22nd of 2022. James would be given a life sentence with a mandatory 25-year term for killing Chris and a consecutive life sentence with mandatory 20-year minimum for attempting to kill Samantha.